Someone asked, can you do a report or review on the Pelican hit piece that was written? Yes, I can. I'm going to go over the first 11 pages and the background of the person that wrote it just a little bit. And if you're not all familiar with this Pelican short report that was written, it was released at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. And apparently this short report, it scared people, and the stock price went down. There is a blog post about this person, Jack Patrick of Pelican Way Research. And in it, it mentions his father spent a career as a portfolio manager and still works in finance, and the household invested long only. In the patient buy and hold tradition, stocks were not an exotic subject at home. They were closer to a first language, the thing the adults discuss and took seriously at the dinner table. Technically, his father is his stepfather, and I'm able to confirm that his stepfather works in finance. He's a chartered financial analyst, so I have a feeling some of what he did rubbed off on his stepson, but instead of going long, he took an interest, Patrick took an interest in going the short direction. It was his father, the lifelong only investor, who pointed him towards the door he would eventually walk through, mentioning that people publish this kind of analysis publicly. Patrick studied the industry, decided to put the report out under the name Pelican Way Research, or PWR for short. And the research firm existed where a few weeks earlier, there had been a restless college dropout and a chart that bothered him. And that company is incorporated in Connecticut. I know the Twitter profile for the company, it says it's in Manhattan, New York, but really it's incorporated in Connecticut. And he looks up to a short seller whose name is Carson Block of Muddy Waters. Apparently there's a group of short sellers. If you go down this rabbit hole, they publish campaigns or reports, and there's a subset of them called activist short sellers, where they will find alleged wrongdoing in companies and publish reports on them. And before they publish the report, they take a short position. That means that they're going to borrow the shares, publish the report, hope people get scared and the stock price goes down, and then they buy those shares back, and that's how they make their money. So it's a calculated move to try to get the stock price to go down. So this is the second page of this lovely report. And it says in this full legal disclaimer, upon publication, we generally begin covering a substantial portion of our short positions. This does not reflect a lack of conviction, but it is a matter of prudent risk management. And there was one company he tried to short, and it didn't work out in his favor, so he adjusted how he did things. That's what I'm thinking. We intend to continue transacting in these securities indefinitely and may be long, short, or neutral at any time. Therefore, you should assume that we may have already closed some or all of our short position by the time you read this report, and that we are unlikely to increase our short position unless we determine it is financially beneficial to do so. And I'm on page 3, and he says, we believe this letter of intent And he's referring to the letter of intent below is a sham because the counterparty, VFG Holdings, or legally VGF, which it's VFG Tech Holdings LLC, does not appear to have any substance. The entity was registered a few months ago in January 2026, and I agree with that. The company's website just contains 2 pages, a homepage and a contact form with no listed address. I also agree with that. The man behind the entity, Jason Green, runs a second company, Artificial by Design, at the same time. I did not realize that. It seems that VFG are the initials of different people, and the G in VFG is this Jason Green person. The V is for Alex. That's the other person's first name. I don't know who the F is. In his own words, and he's referring to Thomas Healy, in order to get investors, you must create fear in investors that they may miss out on this deal. In fact, during the time as an EV story, they managed to do tens of millions less revenue than Nikola Motors did after it was exposed by Hindenburg Research in 2020. And if you notice, the word fear is in red. Red is a bad danger signal. And let's view this video clip of where he's talking about creating fear in investors.
Plan B.
What did you learn as the secret to being able to sell yourself in business?
Realize that investors have FOMO, right? So if they're looking at your company, you need to make them realize that they don't want this to be the company they missed out on.
I love that. So you got to create scarcity for your investors.
You got to create fear that they might miss out on this deal, but you also...
So you have to create fear or FOMO that they're going to miss out on this deal, and they got to pile in. And at the same token, the author of this short report is creating fear in investors. It's like taking what Thomas is saying and applying it at a different angle, that there is something very wrong and they're going to lose a lot of money, so they should get out. But if people do that, the writer of this report will make money. And with the second sentence and the fact the EV story managed to do tens of millions less revenue than Nikola Motors after it was exposed by Hindenburg Research in 2020, Nikola Motors has nothing to do with HYLN. They operated in the same sector. And then you're pointing another short reporting firm at this different company, and you're kind of like trying to put HYLN in the same box as Nikola Motors. And Nikola Motors, it had a truck that rolled down a hill, and that was exposed. I don't know by who exactly, maybe Hindenburg and stuff, but I don't know if the Carnot generator actually works. I've seen videos of it where like it's vibrating, so you kind of think it's working, but I've actually never seen the Carnot generator power anything, and people are asking, has this thing been running for 100 days nonstop? And they can never come up with it. And like in the latest video with the CNC Titans, they showed them like the 3D parts, like a display of the Carnot core, the 4-shaft power modules. But in that video, they never had a Carnot generator running for the Titan guy. So technically, I can't say that I've seen the Carnot generator actually power something. I've only seen it like vibrating in a box. But I can't really come to any conclusions. It's this still work in progress that's dragging along. During these years of being a salesman, we found that Healy has been paid $15.4 million since 2021, while the entire company has only done $8 million in revenue up until the end of fiscal year 25. On top of that, we calculated that an extra $13.1 million has been paid out over the years to other executives at the company over the same time frame, entirely paid with shareholder money. Well, yeah, most of that is shareholder money. Some of it's interest that's been accumulated off of shareholder money. So I can't say that's entirely paid with shareholder money, because they're also getting revenue from the Office of Naval Research. So I can't say that's entirely paid with shareholder money. Most of it is. And they just don't have a whole lot to show for it, but they say that they've reaffirmed guidance for, I think, 40 million of revenue from the military with military contracts. And in the lower right-hand corner, let me zoom in here if I can. And it says the HYLN stock materially underperformed before the VFG announcement. And you have to keep in mind that the VFG announcement is just a small part of the quarterly report. There's more that was going on than just this VFG LOI. We will point investors to the high-profile case of Fermi America. Fermi was published by Fuzzy Panda Research in April 2026, the report which alleged that the C-suite was filled with yes men whose key partners appeared to be dubious and who lacked a concrete plan and the capital to do so. Since coming public, the shares of Fermi fallen 70%, about 70%. It's the same type of thing that you're trying to do with Nikola Motors and the Hindenburg Research thing. You're saying, okay, well, Fermi America is an energy company, and you point a short reporting company, which Fuzzy Panda Research is that, and you're trying to put HYLN in the same box, because I guess Nikola Motors didn't work trying to put them in the same box, so now you're trying to put Fermi in America and HYLN in the same box and saying, oh, well, look, this short reporting research firm made that stock price go down, and therefore the HYLN stock price will go down as well, which the HYLN stock price has gone down. And there's a table here with key pieces, and does HYLN have it? Established customers? No. Power deals? No. Funding? No. There's one additional line that you left out here. Cash cow, which is the United States military. Does HYLN have it? Yes. The company did $3.5 million in revenues fiscal year 2025 and operated on a $57.2 million loss. That is not good. This is a recipe for bankruptcy. The CFO is John Panzer, who was previously at Union Pacific Railroad. Now, also, if you look more into the annual reports, it mentions that John Panzer, he also worked he served under the U.S. Navy as someone that did stuff with nuclear submarines. So you have like this Navy tie-in with the Office of Naval Research, and occasionally HYLN will mention that the Carnot generator runs off of heat, and not only heat, but nuclear power that generates heat, which John Panzer has experience with. So it's not only with this Union Pacific Railroad, is that there's also tie-ins with the United States Navy and nuclear power with him. HYLN stock is up on the back of the CEO making a bet on being the next great AI data center play. Well, data centers need power. They're a potential customer. Why would he not make a bet on that? The Carno technology was bought from General Electric in 2022 for $37 million, which included $15 million in cash and $22 million in HYLN stock. Even back then, the technology was still in the research and development, non-commercialized phase, which has still yet to be resolved. And the former HYLN employee expressed to us that there was no real interest for the technology outside of HYLN. So if there's no real interest for the technology outside of HYLN, why is their Office of Naval Research, why are they doing work with it? Why is it being put on this US X-1 Defiant ship? Because people are interested in it. And another thing I think is that General Electric, it found a pocket of cash to, it's like they had this technology and it would cost a lot of money to develop, and they found, oh, there's this company out here. I think part of that was instrumented by, what was the guy's name? The guy that did the HYLN SPAC merger. Stephen Peng, that was his name. I think he played a part in it as well, because he appears over at AirJoule. And AirJoule does stuff with GE. So I think there was some sort of arrangement where they wanted to offload the Carno technology. GE didn't want to spend the cash with it. HYLN had a lot of cash, and so they plugged it in there, sent some GE people over at HYLN to finish developing and using. It's essentially the research and development budget. That's the way I kind of view it. We came away with the impression that actual commercialization is years away, and that is currently run up in the share price that is not reflective of reality. It's going to take some time. I think the time it's going to take, it's called Parkinson's law. And it's a theory that this person came up with, is that if, for example, if something's going to take if you have 5 years worth of time, and if you wanted to do something, that something is going to expand to take all that 5 years. So I think this research and development will expand to consume all available time, and that's bounded by cash, whatever cash they have left on their balance sheet. And for some reason, the stock price ran up, and you're saying it's because of this VFG announcement, but I thought it was because they quadrupled the revenue from military contracts. And I got another comment that another person thought is because they achieved UL certification, which is not the full one. It's non-recurring UL certification. And other people think it's from this AI data center play from VFG, which VFG smells fishy. We believe that this pipeline is a large portion of the bull thesis. Now, when I click on this bull thesis, it takes me to a AI slop YouTube video. It's been generated by AI, and I can tell. So if it's AI slop, this statement doesn't count, in my opinion. In the coming slides, we will explain why we believe the deal may not be what it seems and why we believe our research will likely lead to a re-rating of the stock to a considerably lower level. And that has happened because people got scared. Through further due diligence, we found the company is run by Jason Green, runs a separate firm called Artificial by Design, which, according to its website, is a hypervisor for GPU, CPU, AI infrastructure. We were, however, able to find a third-party data for Artificial by Design and found that it has no funding and has an estimated 855,000 in annual revenues, according to Prospeo. We find it extremely hard to believe that VFG, which is run by the same person, seemingly part-time, with no address, no funding history, and no history extending beyond January 2026, could have such a drastically different financial profile from their counterpart that they would be able to handle a 133 million plus order. It smells fishy. It smells off. I don't know how this. Maybe they're just kind of like part of this sales funnel pipeline, and the customer on the other end pays for it, and they take a cut. I don't know. But if they were to pay for it themselves, from what I'm reading, they wouldn't be able to do it. We are of the opinion this is largely marketing fluff brought to HYLN CEO, who has said, in order to get people to invest, you need to instill the fear of missing out, which is FOMO. He's playing on people's emotions, as the short report is playing off of people's emotions as well. Currently, HYLN sits with just about 140 million in current assets, according to the latest 10Q. HYLN currently loses 50 million a year, according to their fiscal year 25 10K. This means that the company has about 33 months left before they run out of cash. We think they will end up spending more cash as they make an attempt at commercialization. I'm going to think they're going to just burn through the cash and they need more cash to commercialize. I agree with that. In our experience, we have found that companies seem to like to dilute right around when they have about 18 months of cash left. We think right now, on the back of the dubious LOI, which sent shares soaring, is the opportune time to dilute shareholders in order to continuously gosh, this is a pretty bold statement. In order to continuously line management's pockets and continue on the never-ending road of being a science project. I have a different theory about what they may be trying to do, but it's speculation, but it's based off of other dots that I may connect. I may be connecting wrong, but another thing is that this report was released on June 23rd on a Tuesday. And I don't know if this is related to this or not, but here's a Form 4 from Thomas Healy on the Friday of that same week, showing that he's gifted 2.5 million HYLN shares as a gift to the Thomas Healy 2026 Irrevocable Trust, dated on that Friday for estate planning purposes. That's about 10.7 million to 11.7 million approximately dollars worth of HYLN shares that, for some strange reason, got moved to a irrevocable trust 3 days after this report was released. And part of it, from what I'm reading about, is a legal maneuver to protect assets. But he no longer has control of the shares, entity does. But again, I find this kind of interesting in the way that the drama is unraveling here. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.